Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about zodiac or astrological sign compatibility between Leo and Scorpio. And yes, it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant for both people. Well, anyway, first thing I'll look at is, well, with Leo, Leo is an extroverted sign. Scorpio is introverted. Leo is a masculine sign, and Scorpio is feminine. So they are square by sign. They are incompatible by sign. They're both fixed. So this could be a situation. You have two people that could be very intractable, very willful, very strong-willed, have very strong demeanors and personalities, and you could have a very strong clash of wills. I think one way to make this work with these two people is that you have to look at, like, well, it's called maybe relinquishing power a little bit for both people. Leo has to swallow their pride a little bit, and Scorpio may have to do the same to some degree. And I think Scorpio has to tone down, the intense personality and behavior. They both could be domineering. They're both being fixed signs. I mean, they're very obviously, once they have their minds made up, that is set, that they could be said, this could be a verbally combative situation, because Scorpio can be very caustic and sarcastic, and Leo, being a fire sign, is generally not going to restrain his or herself from saying what's on their mind. They could be very bold and outspoken with what they say. The Scorpio person can maybe hurt Leo's ego to some degree with the caustic statements from time to time. And even though Leo might not show it superficially or on the surface, Leo might be a little more hurt than what is being expressed readily on the surface. So those are some things to look at. As far as compatibility goes, Leo likes to have their attention. Leo, being that masculine sign, they are extroverted and gregarious. They like to go out generally. They like to be around a lot of people. Scorpio can be really more about seclusion and solitude. Scorpio can be very secretive, and they don't like to have they're not as much about opening up to outsiders or people that they don't know about. They're not as much about engaging in conversation and meeting new people as opposed to Leo. So you can have that disparity there. I think what's interesting is that, as far as the difference is, when you have Scorpio and Leo, you have the two strong personalities. You have a control situation where both of these people might be might really be kind of trying to gain the control over each other to some degree, or be the dominant one in the relationship. And it could be a difficult situation, because neither one really is about listening to any commands that much from the other person, or at least not very frequently, or that often. You have Scorpio can rule and dominate through perhaps their subtle means, through in a worst extreme expression, sometimes through some kind of manipulation of some kind. But Leo is just more about being really just giving general direct commands or in statements. So you can have a situation like that. I think if you get the mutual give and take as far as the respect, and both looking at each other's positive qualities, the courage and fortitude they both have, and really they need to each understand that neither one really wants the course of action dictated to each other, and they have to find some compromise in this. And the thing about this, what I think is interesting, though, in this combination, I think all signs of compatibility, even the ones that are generally not compatible, they could still have some positive elements in them. I look at these two, and you look at Leo. It's interesting that Leo corresponds with the fifth house of astrology, which rules children. Leo can often be enamored with children, and really is the kind that can really be good as far as a good parent to one. So, and you have Scorpio as a sign of procreation. So for that, I could see this combination, if the situation works out, in many instances have at least one child. So I think that's one thing to look at in this, as far as the compatibility goes between these people. Now, as far as in the bedroom, well, it could be very passionate. You have Scorpio, which is obviously, Scorpio is arguably, I think, almost unequivocally, I think the most sexual of all 12 zodiac signs. So they'll never be short on that in the bedroom with Leo. And Leo can be very passionate. Leo's, I think their sex urge is, I don't believe, is as strong as Scorpio's on average, but I would say at least fairly high on average, and they can be very ardent and passionate. It's just about what this comes down to is, I think Scorpio wants generally a lot of emotional depth in that connection, whether in just in general and in the bedroom as well. And Leo may not be able to get to quite meet that need for Scorpio as far as that goes. So I think that's where you have maybe the disparity as far as in the bedroom, so to speak. Well, anyway, it's important to look at the aspect, if any, that is made between the energies of these people. As this could indicate where this compatibility may not be as good, or it may actually be a little bit better than the otherwise indicated. So let me get started with that now. In many instances, you'll have a square aspect take place between the energies of these people. Let's say, for example, one person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Leo at 24 degrees, and the other person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Scorpio at 22 degrees. Well, that would form a square aspect, which could be adverse or adversarial. And you can have perhaps even more challenges and disparities in this relationship than even otherwise indicated. Keep in mind, they are square by sign. They're not compatible by sign anyway. But if you have the square aspect, I think this could intensify the differences a little bit more. Now, you could also, on the positive side, though, you can have an out of sign trine aspect take place between the energies of these people. Let's say, for example, it would be an out of sign trine aspect, of course. Let's say, for example, one person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Leo at 2 degrees, and the other person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Scorpio at 29 degrees. Well, that would form an out of sign trine aspect, which could be positive and auspicious, and you could have a little more harmony, a little better blending of these energies than otherwise indicated, and these people may be able to work through the disparities and differences a little bit better than as otherwise indicated. Now, but you also have to remember, they are still square by sign, so you've got to factor that into the equation as well. Now, you could also have an out of sign sextile aspect take place between the energies of these people. Let's say, for example, one person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Leo at 28 degrees, and the other person has the sun, moon, or ascendant in Scorpio at 1 degree. That would form an out of sign sextile aspect, which, like the trine, could be positive and auspicious, and could indicate a little better harmony that would exist, and a little better compatibility than otherwise indicated. They are still square by sign, so still you have to factor that into the equation as well. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for zodiac or astrological sign compatibility between Leo and Scorpio. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about zodiac sign compatibility between Leo and Sagittarius. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.